My name is Mariah Lamour, and welcome to Spectral. I have been trying to figure out how to begin this channel for like a month or so now at this point. Just trying to figure out how to begin and what, kind of trying to like map out a bunch of different stuff that I was going to talk about. And ultimately, it's probably the best way to begin is just to begin, and that's always very difficult for me. Starting things is difficult, finishing things is difficult, but if you can just like plot me right in the middle, that would be good. So, here it is. This is going to be a show about my experience with slapping my microphone a lot. It's going to be kind of a memoir almost about my life. I'm going to be tracking back through a bunch of things. And I want to talk about kind of how I see the world and kind of giving almost like an instructional of like kind of how to notice the things that I notice. And like I don't feel like I make a conscious effort to notice certain things, but this is all getting out of order already, because the point of the matter is that I believe that I am on the autism spectrum. I believe that I do have ASD. I don't have a formal diagnosis yet, but I am sort of partway there. I did talk to my primary physician about it back in December and told her that I think that I am autistic and can, like, how do we do this? Like, what is the next step there? And so she referred me to Fraser Center, which is an autism specialist center in Minnesota, where I live. And I was able to meet with one of their therapists by the end of January this year, and he wasn't someone who could give me the like official, like formal evaluation, but he asked me some questions and kind of gave me a preliminary status, I guess, of having a neurodevelopmental disorder, which plausibly would be autism were I to take the full evaluation. Apparently those are scheduled out 2.5 to 3 years at this point, and that is, it blows my mind. I don't know what factors are involved in that, but oh boy, that's a long time. So in the meanwhile, I am like 1200% confident that that's what it is. I waffled on it for a while, but ultimately, once the idea came into my head that it was a possibility, then I started looking into it, and I started noticing things that were absolutely correct, and have been kind of able since then to reframe past experiences in kind of a new light and see how autism has played into the fact that I can't speak in full sentences all at once, among other things. So yeah. I remember having filled out a questionnaire at one point, and one of the questions on it was, do you talk really slowly, like noticeably slowly? And I was like, no. If I talked in slow motion, don't you think I would know that I talked in slow motion? But the way I was picturing it is like saying a full sentence, but really slowly, like a tortoise in a cartoon or something. And that's not, I don't think, what that question meant. I think that question meant the amount of time I take between words. I can say words at a regular pace, but then sometimes it takes me a moment to think of the next word, like right here, and it doesn't feel to me like I'm going slow because I'm trying to process a lot of different stuff at once, and so my brain is going like this, but the words that come out of my face are very stilted and very hard to track for probably a neurotypical person sometimes, because they're like, all right, spit it out, kid. Like, what are you saying? I keep everything to myself in my brain until I know exactly which word is relevant in the next open slot of a sentence, which is also not great. But there you go. Example one. Things that I've learned are probably autistic traits. And yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of give you some details like that on this channel, and I should let you know that primarily I am a writer and a seamstress, I guess. That's kind of what I've fallen into doing the most of. I keep wanting to say that I'm a writer, but I keep not writing things. And that's something. You'll see what I mean at some point eventually. But a lot of things that I talk about are going to be framed around art and around the English language. I want to say language in general, but I do only speak the one language, and I do only really know details about the one language, which is something that I hope to change eventually, but I do not have a lot of opportunities that I know of to be able to consistently practice another language. We'll see if that changes. Anyway, that's also kind of a tangent. I love linguistics. I don't really have a lot of education in linguistics other than just like random stuff I've looked up for myself, and but I know a linguist, and that may come into play at some point. I just realized that's a great idea if I have some guests for specialties that I enjoy to come on and answer some questions, so maybe that'll be a thing. We'll see. And yeah. What I was gonna say is that I have the collegiate degrees I have are technical communication and professional writing is the one. Basically just professional writing. I love books. I love publishing and editing, and that always seemed really great to me, but I am definitely more of a fantasy lover than a literary fiction lover, so I don't know. Literary fiction has such a weird... I'm not going to get into that right now either. So writing is in my background. It's something that I'm fairly knowledgeable about, and I do have a creative writing certificate or minor as well, and so creative writing, the like craft of writing, is something that I'm very I feel like I'm very knowledgeable about. And the other thing is that I've been sewing for apparently 20 years now. That's wild, right? And always not to the same extent throughout those 20 years, but I have learned a lot about costume and a lot about a lot of things having to do with sewing. It's so complex, and it kind of dives into other arts spheres of thinking that I'm going to explain someday, but that is not today's topic. But so yes, art and life and plausible autism is how I'm gonna call it. You can hashtag it plausible autism for those without a formal diagnosis but are definitely sure that something is going on here, and it probably is autism, and there's a lot of reasons why. Yeah, that's my intro, I guess. I hate it. I hate it, but it's something, so that's cool. Oh boy. I hope you stick around. I think it's gonna be just a ton of fun to finally have. I've been wanting to create a channel or a blog or literally anything that ropes in all of my different interests and kind of expertises and curiosities into one, I don't know, integral subject. Something that it wouldn't be like too crazy to, like, there's got to be a core concept in there. People are always telling you to like find your niche and figure out what your niche is, and that'll attract audiences. Blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. My poor sweet neighbor just came in the door and asked me if we were still gonna take photos today, because I wanted some people that I knew to help me take photos of some clothing that I'm selling, so that I can actually list it with a visual representation of what it is instead of just kind of a vague description and a placeholder image box. But it was next week that we were gonna do that, so I feel a little bit bad that he came over, but he lives just down the street, so it wasn't for nothing. It's okay. I was just like scared because I was like, is it 5:30 already? Are we already doing D&D right now? No. That's another thing, is that, man, just the wealth of projects that I've tried and have gone nowhere because I have no structure in my life. Man. But this is gonna be the one. This is gonna be the one that ropes them all together. Makes one big, beautiful picture out of it all. And it is that I am a weirdo. And that's okay. So, yeah, if you are interested in hearing a bunch of ramblings about art and storytelling, and yeah, those are kind of the foundational ones: art and storytelling, making things and making things up, but also just like weird experiences from a different perspective. A life of going to weird schools and being the outcast even in that situation sometimes. If you like a good story about a weirdo, then I guess you've come to the right place. And welcome. And I will see you in the next one, because I don't know what else to talk about right now. See you later.